It was the 80s, and this guy right here would be one of the very first Warhammer 40k cosplayers. Now, if you want to learn more about him and some other fantastic history of Warhammer 40k, then I'll see you right after this very quick intro. Hey everyone, this is Tasty Taste from Blood of Kittens, and in this series of videos we're going to look back at the history of Warhammer 40k through the designers and gamers that made it the hobby it is today. Now, as I alluded to in the little intro before, this cute guy right here, Ross Miller, won a costume contest all the way back in 1988 pretending to be Marneus Calgar. To put things in perspective, this is only 1 year after the release of Rogue Trader, and this kid made this costume in that time. Now granted, it's only cardboard, and it's house paint, and I'm sure his dad and mom helped him make it, but still, it's pretty awesome that this kid was so enthused about the game. It just goes to show how popular it was about to become. Either way, what I am really curious about with this costume is, where did he get the inspiration from? Was it this terrible Calgar model where he's taking a dump? Or was it the kick-ass art of Calgar where he has a pet velociraptor? This is even before Jurassic Park, so this kid didn't even know how cool velociraptors are about to be.
Alan!
At the same time, GW released these 3 models, which technically is actually 4 models, but we're going to get to that. Now, what's crazy about all these models is that they would go on to have completely different histories as time progressed. The first one I do want to talk about, which will be the shortest discussion, is honestly one of my favorite models of all time, and that'd be the Squat Thudd Gun. Now, of course, it would go on to live on as a Space Marine variant for Forge World, but at the time I had a squat army, and I had like 5 or 6 of these. Now, granted, let's just say 4 or 5 of them might have been not made out of metal at the time. They could have been made out of resin. Maybe. Either way, it was a fantastic gun, fantastic model, very iconic look, very kind of World War I, World War II-esque action going on there. And it had a crazy, terrible template you had to use. 6 separate different rules you had to go and abide by. Now, this is Rogue Trader era, so every model took about an hour to deploy, fire, attack, all that good stuff. This one had this 6 multi-tribe template thing that we used to have, I think, in Apocalypse, if I remember correctly. This, they asked you to make it at home out of paper and clips and crazy stuff. Either way, it was just burdensome and annoying. Now, the second model, let's take a look at it one more time too, right there, is the Landspeeder. Now, as you probably quickly notice, those pilots don't look like Space Marines. Obviously, they're not Space Marines. They're Imperial Guard. Now, at this time, GW had no clue on what they're going to do with the Landspeeder. They decided just to give it to everything that was Imperium. And I also had a few of these growing up as a kid. I had them as Imperial Guard. I never used them as Space Marines. But still, it's crazy to see that GW just decided to be like, one day, Imperial Guard, grab. Yeah, no, that technology's not for you. You stick with World War II tech, buddies. But let's get to the last one, which is my personal favorite, actually, honestly. God, I'm saying they're all my favorites now, but whatever. Either way, this was what GW called Ghost Warriors in all their different variants. Now, as you can imagine, they would go on to become Wraithlords, Wraith Knights, Wraithguard, Wraith Blades, all that good stuff. But at this moment, they just kind of bundled together as kind of the Eldar equivalent of robots. Don't get me started on robots. We might have a discussion about that later. Still, GW was getting the Eldar lore down even back then. They had the Infinity Circuit, Eldar souls being transferred into these Ghost Warriors, all the stuff we'd come to know and love in the future, with one minor change of the word ghost being changed into Wraith for almost everything, which is curious. I don't know why they made the change. I mean, I guess the 80s was all about Ghostbusters, but maybe they saw Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby and said, hey, we can't have Ghost anymore. It has to be much cooler like Wraith. Either way, the GW made that change, and that's where we are now. But let's focus on one thing here. Let's get back to these little guys. Where are they now? They're freaking cool. In the lore back then, they talked about them being infiltrators behind enemy lines, little killers that go and destroy your characters, all that cool stuff. But they're nowhere to be seen now. I mean, it's just a hole in the Eldar army that needs to be filled. I mean, we have Rangers, Striking Scorpions, War Walkers, but little assassin robots with chainsaw hands? I think that needs to make a comeback, a serious comeback. Finally, one of the really cool things that happened in May of 1988 was the introduction of the Badat Wars. Still, I have to say, this is amazing. This is only 1 year after Rogue Trader, and we've already got the Badat Wars to pen to paper thanks to Rick Priestley, the creator of Warhammer 40k. Now, of course, the story is slightly different, slightly shorter, and this is one of the cool things that GW always did at this point, is that they knew that they were going to come back to things, and they left things vague and short so that, you know, it can be fleshed out later. It's just an important trick that they used, and it also meant that whenever you retconned anything, it would be a minor retcon. You could also kind of, you know, wish it away in multiple ways possible. So it's a really cool detail, and one of the things that's great about the Badat Wars, which I always will say to everyone, is that it stands out because it's not a story from 30k, and it doesn't fit in the modern timeline. It's this story about how a Space Marine chapter can go renegade and finally chaos after the Horus Heresy. So we get it all right here. Huron has the same thing. He kind of tricks a bunch of chapters into joining his side, and they have to fight it off. They have to fight off other chapters that come in, and finally he's defeated and goes off on one ship. Now, the little detail is he doesn't go into the Maelstrom here. He just flies off to parts unknown, and this goes back to what I just said about fleshing out the story. GW later fleshes out the story for this, but at this point it's just kind of left to a vague, we don't know why he did it sort of thing. But the other two critical things about Huron here is that they make him out to be kind of just a simple tax cheat. He wasn't really had any, grand chaos plans. It's just literally he didn't want to pay his tithes, and that's what happened. So I know this is a little bit in the current story, but in this particular version of it, just basically kind of that's the main reason why. Now, the other crazy thing, and this is something that Rick Priestley did often, is that he would bring aliens into a situation, So Huron, for him, he wasn't tainted by chaos. He was maybe a shapeshifter, maybe an alien abduction, maybe he was getting manipulated by aliens. Everything was about aliens. They only make one little minor reference to maybe a psychic incursion or a psychic manipulation. And so, of course, that becomes the real reason for why Huron portrays is that he just, gets corrupted by chaos. Another crazy thing about this little story is that the astral claws don't exist. That was Huron's chapter before he went rogue. Instead, he's a tiger claw. Now, at some point, the tiger claws, get changed a little bit to being just allies of the astral claws. But at this point, we don't have astral claws. They're completely gone. But all other chapters that are in there are in there. It's just that this one change was made. Now, I can't remember how. Maybe in a future video, I'll do research and I'll figure it out, or maybe someone in the comments can actually tell me what happened and why did the astral claws become the astral claws and the tiger claws just went away. But as it is in this little story, it's the tiger claws. Now that I think about it, there might be one reason why. It could be this reason. This is such a dark time for Games Workshop. This is something I wish they would just burned everywhere. It's the terrible camouflage paint that GW said, hey, why don't we have half the chapters being this weird camouflage triangle schemes of just ugly grossness. So this is what the tiger claws look like, and in fact this is what a lot of chapters look like. Thank goodness that GW decided to get rid of all that stuff. But anyway, this is the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and if you liked it, please hit the like button, that subscribe button down there as well. But I'm hopefully going to do a few more of these. We're all in quarantine as this video is of course being recorded, so I will probably do more of them. So let's see what happens, but thanks for watching.